Hi, Shalom from Jerusalem. This is day 16 of the Israel-Hamas War. Israel is still preparing for the ground invasion. They've been pounding Gaza in a very strong way. And so the goal is always the elimination of the terrorist group Hamas, which has kept the Gaza people hostage for the past, since 2007 when they took over Gaza violently. And the goal is to bring release to the Gaza people, as well as bring peace to Israel, especially the communities around the Gaza border, which is like 30 plus little towns, which have to go through rockets and missiles continually landing on them, terrorizing them, making them run to bomb shelters during the night, during the day, continually, and that's no way to live. So I think with this massacre, they have decided that enough is enough, and so far we have 21 children orphaned from 13 families. That's 21 children that don't have a father and mother, that were killed during the massacre of October 7th. And just as Israel has been pounding and hitting Gaza really hard, we still have been getting some rockets inside our cities like Bet Shemesh and Tel Aviv, which is a little bit farther away from the area close to Gaza, which is pretty crazy. And in one of those attacks, a 60-year-old man was injured, and so hopefully he's doing better by now. Another thing that I want to report on is that while we have a war going on in the south of Gaza, we have a small war going on with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a terrorist group that has a lot of influence in Lebanon, and they have a big conflict. They hate Israel just as bad as Hamas does, and they're better trained than Hamas. They say they have up to 120,000 missiles aimed at Israel, and they've said also that the day that Israel decides to go into Gaza by ground, that they will join the war. And so right now we have 14 towns in the northern part of Israel that have been evacuated, and among them are Shnir, Dan, Bet Hillel, Sha'ar Yishov, Hagoshrim, Ilan, Goren, Hagalil, Evan Menachem, Sasa, Sivon, Ramot, Naphtali. And so a lot of these people are being sent to hotels or communities that have been set up by the government. I know Eilat is receiving some people as well, because the communities from the south bordering Gaza, they've been also evacuated. So many of these people are staying in hotels away from Gaza. So we hear a lot of yelling and demands for humanitarian aid for the Gaza people, but I don't hear any demands for humanitarian aid for all these people that are running from war as well in this side. And it's pretty crazy. And we know that 700,000 people in Gaza, from the northern part of Gaza, have evacuated and gone towards the southern part of the Gaza Strip, along the border with Egypt, and Egypt is not letting them inside, which is pretty sad. And so we have about 300,000 of our people that have been evacuated from their towns in the northern part of Israel, as well as the southern towns around Gaza. So we have about 500,000 soldiers in arms in the northern part and in the southern part. And we're hoping that, so we have two fronts, so we're hoping that a third front one won't start from Syria, even though we did have an incident, a rocket from Syria was launched, and an Iron Dome was able to intercept it. And also Israel hit the airport of Aleppo in Syria and the capital Damascus again, because Israel's trying to make sure that Iran doesn't provide Syria with more weapons, which they're hoping to get in order to hit Israel from Syria. The Syrian government is a puppet government of Iran, and so they do a lot of terrorism as well. Iran is supporting the terrorism in Syria, the terrorism in Lebanon, and the terrorism in Gaza, as well as the terrorism in Yemen. So we also have a threat from Yemen. They said that if Israel goes into Gaza through ground invasion, that they would start sending missiles into the Israeli boats along the Red Sea. So that would be a fourth front. It's getting pretty crazy, and the United States is also warning Yemen that if they do join, that they will also have to respond from their ships along the Red Sea as well. So Hezbollah, I want to tell you a little bit about Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist group that has taken, that has pretty much taken over the government of Lebanon, and it's a terrorist group that has been terrorizing Israel for a while. Israel has had to go into Lebanon before, and it hasn't been very pretty for Israel. I want to just mention also just a little history that in the past, the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, led by Yasser Arafat, they used to operate from southern Lebanon, and they used to cross the border into Israel, yeah, and they would put bombs in buses, in restaurants, in malls, in hospitals, in busy streets. And so, there were a lot of suicide bombs. And so Israel, after a while, they had enough. So they took over the southern part of Lebanon, which they called it the security zone. And they were in control of this area for a long time. But when they did have control of this area, there wasn't much terrorism coming into Israel from the northern area for a while. But with the pressure from the United Nations was that Israel withdraw from southern Lebanon, pressure from the United States, pressure from the European nations, and so at the end Israel decided to pull out. And but one of their recommendations, or one of their demands, was that that area be controlled by the United Nations and be a demilitarized zone, because of all the possibility of terrorism coming out of that area. Well, sadly to say, the United Nations has done nothing. Hezbollah has taken over all that area, all the way up to the border fence with Israel. I've seen for myself, I've been up to the north, where you can see the flag right over the border with between Israel and Lebanon. You can see their Hezbollah flags. We have pictures and videos of men or whoever it is on the other side with binoculars looking into Israel, spying into Israel. And we've seen some of the terrorist soldiers walking around that area, and the UN doesn't do anything. So the UN didn't live up to its job. And now that Hezbollah has threatened to join the war, the UNIFIL, which is the UN arms, and the United Nations, that's what it's called, the UNIFIL, the UN in southern Lebanon, has been withdrawing, and so they have pretty much left this area completely open. Not that they were making any difference, but they decided to flee from the area. Just as, like I said, history repeats itself. When Egypt had, in a past war, Egypt threatened to attack Israel. So UNEF, which is the UN in that area, at that time just withdrew, and Egypt was able to go right through and start attacking Israel. So this is what's going on. This is the terrorist groups are from all around our area, and so we ask for your prayers that God will be the Iron Dome for Israel. Here in Jerusalem, we're doing fine. My family and I, we're doing fine. We're safe. But we pray for the soldiers that are about to go into this ground invasion. We pray for all the soldiers that are also involved in the strikes from the air. We pray for the hostages in Lebanon from all 36 countries, in particular also for the Israeli hostages that are being held. And we pray for the state of Israel and the government, that they make the wise decisions that we definitely need. And we pray for the peace of not only Jerusalem, but the peace for this whole area. And that the enemy will be confused when they decide to attack Israel. So, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. That's what the scriptures say in Isaiah. And this is what we're praying for. I have friends up in Nahariya, in the Galilee area, in the little town of close to Sasa, up in the northern area of Galil. And also we know that a lot of these Christian towns on the Lebanese side are being held hostage because the Hezbollah is launching their weapons from these Christian towns, and so they're using the Christians as human shields. Terrorists are terrorists, but these are all terrible terrorists. They will do whatever they can because they're blinded by the hate towards Israel. And I'm going to do a video, hopefully soon, on how the hatred is implanted in the children of these Arabs in Gaza and in Lebanon. Until then, God bless. Shalom from Jerusalem.